Remember, this show is PG-13, so you might hear a naughty word or two.
Norbert's is having a sale, 10% off poly pads. Go to norberts.com for 10% discount on anything with the code GymCastic. And it's trade to show a deal season. Pre-order booth items, get the best deal at any of the regional congresses coming up. Norbert's is also giving away a $50 Norbert's gift card that can be used in anything in their online store, no minimum. Just follow Norbert's Athletic on Instagram and comment on the giveaway post. Good luck. Hezly Rivera and Asher Hong are the 2025 all-around national champions. 2 women's college gymnasts, 1 event titles, and we have lots of interviews to share with you from national championships. Welcome to the number 1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and I'm here with Spencer from the balance beam situation. Let's start with the results from the women's competition.
All right, all-around results. We have champions. Hezly Rivera, all-around champion. Leanne Wong, 2nd, silver medal in the all-around. Josc Roberson, 3rd, all-around. Event champions Leanne Wong, 1 vault. Hezly Rivera and Skye Blakely tied on bars, and then Hezly Rivera won beam and floor. So most of the titles to Hezly Rivera.
Yep, she had such an amazing meet. I talked to her after the meet and I asked her if she felt any pressure coming in as the one Olympic champion, team Olympic champion from Paris who is competing here. And this is what she said.
No, like I said, this meet, I've been taking all the extra pressure off of myself because there is no need for that. I've been training hard in the gym and also having so much fun with my friends and family that I'm just not gonna get so caught up in being nervous and oh my gosh, like I'm an Olympic champion, there's so much pressure on me, so I kind of just let it all go and just did my normal. Thank you.
I mean, if there's anybody that's like 100% you're gonna for sure, she automatically goes to the world selection camp because she won the meet, but also I'm like, yes, she's your all-arounder, you're taking Hezly. And just to talk about like this is, I think now we know that if she face plants at Classic, the rest of the season is going to be great for her. This is all you need to know about her.
Now.
Yeah,
I mean that's her calling card.
It's her good luck charm. If you land on all fours on one event at Classic,
then you're fine.
Yeah. So just so you know, in the future, for any Hezly naysayers. No naysaying.
It's like the gymnasts who have a bad, they know if they have a bad warm-up, like a bad touch warm-up, they're going to hit in the meet. For Hezly, it's like, okay, you have a bad classic, then the season's going to be fine.
Yes, exactly. I also really like the detail. So far. Well, we'll see. But I think
we'll revise as needed.
I also really liked, this is we have to talk about the fashion a little bit, but okay. I love the gauge. Clearly Armene is watching the Gilded Age because they had the fancy lady who wears long gloves leotard on day 1.
Oh, and I thought you were going to say they wore a weird hat that looked like they had murdered a bird or something. No hats?
No hats. And then Hezly had the back of her Leo. It wasn't actual buttons, but it looked like it was like, the buttons, the tiny buttons that go all the way down your back that are on, when they're a very fancy dress, like a wedding dress or the dress that Judge Aquilina got stuck in when we went to the HBO documentary premiere. And then she had to come down to the bar so we could all help her get out of her dress.
And everyone gets that reference. Yeah.
Yes.
They really painted a picture for all the people who weren't there.
It's 1,200 buttons down your back, but it looked really cool. And I really like that. It's something different, and I think it was probably like a zipper with like a flap on the back, but it looked really good. So I always think of something a little bit different in the leotards. Skye Blakely, let's talk about her elite comeback because of course she competed all NCAA season. We knew she was back on, bars and beam for a long time, but this is the first time that she's competed elite since she was guaranteed to be on the Olympic team. And then her Achilles was like, no, just kidding.
Yeah.
Go straight to college.
And I think she competed. We saw the first day, the composition and the execution was there and the hitting wasn't quite there. And then we saw day 2, all of it was there plus the hitting. And she got the highest scores of either day of the meet on bars and beam with her performances on the second day. So it was the fulfillment of assumptions, I think, because it's kind of unfair to gymnasts, but we always make assumptions based on your D score, your composition, your intended routine, that you can be the best in the country on these events. And that was the assumption about Skye. But you also, have to do it. And then on day 2, she did it. So now we feel more confident in saying, yes, Skye Blakely should be on your world's team. And it would be insane for her not to be.
Yes, exactly. And I asked her about that changeover from, kind of like what happened between day 1 and day 2. And, she talked to her family and stuff like that. She didn't go on ghost tours or vampire tours.
So Jessica was very disappointed.
I was like, oh,
if you don't have a story about vampires, get
why
one,
New Orleans?
And then make it inspire your next floor routine.
Yes. But I wanted to ask her about, the petition process that we have. All the world team members from 23 and Paralympic team members can petition to the world selection trials in September, which is not a normal process. And so I wanted to ask her about that, and if she was one of the gymnasts now who just goes directly to the Trident and asks them, hey, here's what I'm thinking. What are you guys thinking? So I asked her about that, and here's what she said. Did you talk to the selection committee about like the option of only doing 2 events, and if you would have that chance to make the team with 2 events?
I did. I talked to them at May camp, just kind of about like what I was thinking, what I wanted the summer to look like. Originally, I didn't even know if I was going to compete championships at the beginning of the summer, so I've come such a long way. But I did talk to them about, hey, I'm planning on kind of just staying on my bars and being those 2 events. And they definitely said that going to selection camp, I could make it from championships, go to selection camp, and have a chance for Worlds. And that's kind of just the plan that we had talked about.
Is that new for you, for feeling comfortable talking to the selection committee and directly?
Definitely. As I've gotten older and spent more time in the sport and just feeling more comfortable with them and able to have those open conversations, kind of like hear what they think, hear if they have any advice, if they think I should change or alter anything. I just kind of come to them with my ideas, how I'm feeling, and they help me come up with the best plan for that. Yes. Thank you.
That is just such a nice change. And I know it's been like this for a while. There's been athletes that feel comfortable doing this, but it's just so nice to see just normal.
So how would you characterize how it was previous to that? If an athlete was, I'm coming back from an injury, I'm competing in college and thinking about maybe having 2 events for championships. How would you describe the previous versus why you feel like this is a refreshing change?
In the old regimes, because there's been several since Marta left, but there was always I think on the one hand, athletes didn't feel like they got a straight answer. So even if they did do that, they felt like they didn't get a commitment. Like, yes, you will be able to do this. We will, if you're up to snuff, we could take you just for 2 events. Try this. It would be, well, we can't commit to anything. We have to see. And so there was always a feeling that, one, if they did reach out, that they didn't get a straight answer. And then there were many people who felt like even when they got a straight answer, that's not what happened. Like Morgan Hurd when she didn't make Olympic trials, like the whole generation of when the Larry left and Tom Forster took over, who all of a sudden weren't invited to camp, even though they had always qualified to camp in the past, all that kind of stuff. So it's more, I think there's more trust in a lot of ways. And of course, it's not perfect. Everything is not, it's not perfect. But the fact that athletes feel comfortable talking directly and feel confident in the answers they're getting, and we're seeing this is follow through. The petition allows, she wouldn't even have had to compete here, and she could just petition directly to trials. So less fear, more confidence that the answer is real. What were your moments of the meet? Yeah.
Okay. I love that I was just about to be like, all right, enough of that. I want to talk about that time Leanne Wong stuck a chung. And you were like, what are your moments at the meet? And I'm like, I have an answer. Leanne Wong stuck a chung. But I do think that was, talking about the most significant things we saw at Nationals, that's top of my list because it's the thing that most changed or confirmed someone for a spot on the Worlds team. We were talking even after day 1 about, okay, Leanne's doing great in the all-around. Her gymnastics is so fun to watch. good execution, all of that. But how does she fit into a world's team? Having a Chung that she stuck, that's a bonus. Having also a Yurchenko double full, that means her 14.5 2-vault average that she got on day 2 is the highest 2-vault average anyone's gotten in the world so far this year. So that confirms, okay, you have a very clear argument to say, here is my event that you should put me on the world's team for. So even if I go to the trials competition and don't finish top 2 all around, I have this event that you're saying, okay, but like this is an event world championships and I'm number 1 in the world now on vault. That's a big development.
It's huge. And I also like that, like, you know, one of the problems that I always have with, like, there's a lot of coaches, especially college coaches, are like, your warm-up decides the lineup. So if you don't warm up well, we're taking you off the event. And the thing is, if that rule was followed for Leanne Wong, she wouldn't have competed here. Because she protected her body by practicing her pre-flight, especially for this vault, and making sure that her landing positions were right, but not sticking them and not trying to stick them and rolling out, stepping back, protecting herself so she can do the sport longer, because she is 21. And so you can't do gymnastics the same way. So I really like that she showed that, yeah, I can be the best vaulter in the world, literally the best vaulter in the world, but doesn't mean I have to stick every turn and be perfect every turn. I will do what I need to do it when it counts. And I appreciate that and her letting herself do that, because, you know, there's a lot of gymnasts with the mentality it has to be perfect every single time, or oh my God. So
I think a lot of gymnasts, I think you've just described gymnast.
Yes.
If you get to this level, you just described gymnast in general.
Super stoked for her. And of course, just graduated from Florida, has 700 companies and owns homes, and there's bows everywhere. And yeah, and she had a booth here at Congress. So, you know, she's doing a lot of things and being the best vaulter in the world. So I'm super stoked for her. Speaking of great vaulters.
Saying best vaulter in the world in terms of your best single vault performance, like how you would be ranked. If you're, you know, taking into account average and multiple meet, you can arrive at best vaulter in the world a lot of different ways depending on your method. But we're saying 14.5 is the highest anyone's gotten in 2025 as a 2-vault average, which is what she got in day 2.
And tied for the highest vault score with
Single
14. Single vault score, yeah. So Josc Roberson, let's talk about
another definite moment of the meet was Josc Roberson unveiling her 6.5 difficulty on floor, which I think, first of all, is huge. Another one, highest in the world that we've seen so far this year, but also that the big thing, I think why it's specifically the moment of the meet for me among them is upgrading her D score in college, because this is a more difficult routine than she was doing in the trials process in 2024. She's now doing the front full through to full in. And that is just the rhetoric about elite gymnasts going to college over the years. And this is antiquated, but we hear it, which is that you are downgrading your gymnastics. You're watering down, you know, you're doing 12 weeks of watered down gymnastics. Why would you want to do that when you could be the Olympic champion? Is something we have heard in the past. So to say that, oh, I went to college, I did my freshman year, and I upgraded my floor routine in doing it, sends a message about doing both at the same time. That isn't just, we've seen athletes maintain. It's not just maintain. I'm improving both difficulty and in some cases execution. There are still some things, but I think we've seen some execution improvements, particularly on bars. Jade Carey, I think, did the same thing. It's another good example, but we're seeing upgrade difficulty, upgrade execution while doing college gymnastics. You're not downgrading or staying the same.
Yeah, she was leading bars after day 1. It was Spencer's favorite thing that's ever happened.
Oh, I know. I wanted her to win the bars title so badly. I was like, okay, we've got Jocelyn going to win the bars title this year. They announced nationals next year are going to be in Phoenix. Okay, so it's the Jade Nationals. She's going to come back and do elite. Jade Carey is going to be national bars champion next year. This is prophecy. This is foreseen. This is what needs to happen.
So there was a little bit going on with Joss and her ankle and her floor routine, and we weren't sure what was going to happen. And I want to play an interview with her, but before I play the interview with with Josc. I want to give you guys a little update on things that happened this weekend. So I was at US Championships. Spencer was home monitoring everything from his lair, his bat cave of spreadsheets and screens.
We call it my live score situation room.
Yes. And so I was able to do a lot of interviews, and we also did a live show with Morgan Hurd, and replay tickets are available for that still. So you can go on, watch the replay, and you can even you can take the quiz if you do the replay, and it's timed. So a few people have gotten 100% on the quiz, but it's the fastest who gets the mini commission. So I want to play some clips from the live show because it was freaking awesome.
Go.
Okay, on second Achilles here.
These are the things you can't see because you can't read them because you.
Oh, of course.
Yep.
The governing body of gymnastics. Skip.
Okay.
Hey, don't drop the ball, okay?
And you like winning too.
I do like winning.
I see. Yeah, Gym Nova equipment was not. Is that how many? Did she do 20?
But we would take it after dinner so that they didn't see, and we kind of like hid it in front of our stomachs and stuff.
Were you aware of these crimes being committed? Slava had no idea.
Slava honestly didn't care. So we took down the mattresses from all of the bunk beds, and we were doing like.
I also heard that you kept a pet at camp.
My friends at college were definitely like pretty like shocked.
I said, and Lily kind of called me out for this, but I said, Tom Forster is lying. He is not telling the truth. And she was like, well, the intention has to be, there should be intention behind the word lying. And I was like, well, if the athletes haven't been talking to, then that's a lie. But how do you feel?
So why are we making this circle? Not a single person knows how to actually dance that's worth being inside that circle. That's just how it is. We're born and raised in.
Yeah,
I knew you would know things like I don't remember. Leanne Wong.
Okay, so from Casey online, if the Tokyo Olympics had taken place in 2020 as planned, do you think you'd have been on the team? If so, who would you have replaced?
Okay, what we're doing right now,
A show, a performance, a podcast,
but almost podcast.
Go! Yeah!
The live show was so fun. Spencer, what was your favorite part?
Okay, I will say Alona saying almost podcast is what we need. This should be the motto of this. Like we need a clip of that just saying like, what is GymCastic? Almost podcast.
They were for our non-visual listeners. So that part with Alona and Morgan together, they were playing basically like taboo. Yeah, or not taboo. What would it be? Like heads up. So password. There's a word shown to the audience, and Morgan couldn't see it, and Alona Shenikova, and her sister was there, Paulina too, and but Alona was trying to give her scores, and FIG, they were like, pass. I don't know, governing body, pass. And then they were trying to guess GymCastic, and it was really, really fun. I love that they wanted to play that. So you can still buy replay tickets to that. It was very, very fun. We had a great time. Morgan is absolute delight. Her coach Slava was there. So we got to get some answers from him too. And it was great. There's also over 3 hours of podcasts from US Championships available for you guys to listen to. And all the bonus for club members, and including a lot of people really loved our interview with Katya Zamalachkova, drag queen extraordinaire, gymnastics lover. And so there is bonus content from that interview on behind the scenes as well. So all of that for our club members, because we couldn't do trips like this to national championships and coming up to Jakarta, Indonesia in just 7 weeks to cover world championships with Deanna Hong, the director and videographer extraordinaire, who's coming with us as usual to deliver you all of the amazing montages and interviews and all of that. And there's also photo galleries up. The fact checker did his photography and some great stuff on our website as well. So, and if you're loving this show and you're a YouTube viewer, please subscribe, because only like 50% of you subscribe. So please subscribe on YouTube and anywhere that you listen to podcasts, and set it to automatically download so you don't get stuck on a plane like I did. I didn't download my favorite podcast.
Oh my God.
After
How many times do you remind people to make sure you download before you get on a plane? And then who didn't do it?
And I didn't do it. I know. I'm so guilty. So, all right, let's go. So all of that you can find at gymcastic.com. And now let's go back to Josc Roberson, one of the three women's college gymnasts who was competing here. And she had a floor routine where she landed short on 3 landings.
Mm-hmm.
It was rough. Like I was like, oh, just stop. And then she was on the vault runway very late. Every gymnast is supposed to get 2 warm-up vaults. She was sort of running on the vault runway, and then she was doing a thumbs up and thumbs down to the head table. And we were like, this is not normal. What's happening? So I asked her about that, and this is what Josc said. You start with, how is your ankle? How are you feeling? And what was going on vault with the up thumbs, the down thumbs, and all of that? Are you okay?
I'm good. My ankle's still hurting, but there's nothing really wrong. I think I'm going to go home, rest it, ice it, do whatever, but it's just a little bit sore, just a little stinger. For vault, I was just making sure I could warm up because of how much time I took making sure the ankle was fine and then taping it up. Just making sure with Chelsea that I could still warm up. And then, yeah. I mean, I did my easier vault. I was supposed to do my Chang. I warmed it up in the longer, and it was really good. Once I stung my ankle, I was like, I don't want to risk anything, so just double full. But I did warm up my Chang, and it looked really good. I think this was my ankle that I previously injured, so it's always been a little bit chronically there. I think that last landing just really did it in and was like, okay, we need to take care of this right now before it gets any worse. And I'm glad that we have so many trainers that can tape it up really quick and get me back out there.
So she did do her chung. So it's there. She has it. She showed that it was so exciting. That warm-ups, the warm-up for the day 2 was so exciting because Josc did her chung. Nola Matthews yelled so loud. Nola, who won Miss Congeniality again for like the second year, which I did talk to her coach, and her coach has been like, yeah, now she's going to college. So she has to think of a gymnast that she's going to pass on this role to. Just to pass it on to one of the younger gymnasts who's going to be like the absolute team cheerleader who makes you jump out of your seat because she yells so loud. She's like the Chris Brooks, like somehow with the voice that she has.
Nola's version of hitting a chung is yelling in support as loud as the loudest she's ever done. Yeah.
Yes. Also, did you see, I don't know if they showed this on the broadcast, but when she won her award, it was Alicia Sacramone that gave her the award for I can't remember what the award is called.
Sportsmanship,
teammate,
yeah.
Superstar teammate. And she was just like standing there and not coming over to like, get a hug from Alicia. So Alicia just like grabs her into a bear hug and pulls her over. And I was talking to Fact Checker, and he was like, that's somebody who has like 7 kids, who's just like, listen, get over here. I'm going to give you affection because you deserve it. And so Nola was laughing, and I love that. But yeah. So I mean, this is the thing. Josc hurt that ankle at 2023 Worlds, and it's been, it was kind of hindering her. Then she talked about before the Olympic push that she, kind of changed her rehab, changed her medication, and then it really helped. And she's had, been fine the entire season in college. So, I like on the one hand, I wish that she would have just been like, I'm gonna just petition. You guys saw my chung, I'll be fine. That I can do this, but I would rather just petition and be as healthy as I can to go to world selection camp. But, she's an elite, and it's hard to stop elites from doing elite gymnastics, especially under pressure. And so she vaulted, and then she went to bars too. So
because she had to maybe win that bars title.
I know, because Spencer, she was like, I know, I'm doing this for you, Spencer. No, she didn't say that, but yeah.
But it was.
It was basically for Spencer. Did you hear this? I heard that on the broadcast, they just like, it's Kyla Ross and Chris Brooks standing next to each other because they were there. They're the Arkansas coaches coaching Josc Roberson, and they just talked about Chris Brooks and not.
I told you that.
Yes,
You're asking me if I heard.
Can you describe? I know I heard it from you, Spencer.
It was. They were just ready to talk about Chris Brooks, like they had a piece about that. So he was introduced as like, this accomplished person who's coaching Josc Roberson, and Kyla was just standing there, and it was like, oh, and Chris Brooks and this guest who was there. It was very funny.
We're like goddess Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
The Kyla Ross. Oh yeah, because then I told you about running into her husband.
Yes.
and how proud I was and all the stories about when I first met him. Yeah.
This is
that's
what you
all-
get when you subscribe to behind the scenes stories about Jessica meeting Kyla Ross's husband.
Again, in the hallway.
And trying to decide if it's even possible to be worthy of Kyla Ross.
Yes, that was
There he is
basically what I gave all of my hints that he was in the original. Anyway, that's on behind the scenes. Part of the over 3 hours of content from this weekend that you guys can listen to. Okay, my favorite part of the meet.
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, all the gymnastics was great, but one of my top 3 things was the Trident showing that gymnastics is fun and you can have fun and it doesn't have to be all pressure, which was Alicia Sacramone, Betty Aquino, and Chelsea Memel all doing the Nicki Minaj sit in a squat with one leg crossed over the other, wearing high heels, talking on the phone or something. And they did it on beam, all in heels, all in a line. And not only did they do it on beam, they did it during the warm-ups for the juniors. So all the juniors were like stopping their warm-up and be like to their coach, go take a picture for me. And it was such a great moment of, this is a change in regime. You can have fun. It doesn't have to be all pressure and stress the whole time. And these are human beings who also love gymnastics, who are in charge of choosing the team and trying to help you have fun here and show you that it can be fun. They also, these heroes, they put a protective piece of like metal or cardboard underneath their heels so they weren't damaging the beam.
Very important.
Oh my God. I mean, all the years I've talked about how I just want to rip the heels off of anyone that walks on mats and heels, because those are like $4,000 mats, $2,000 mats, and then you poke a hole in it with stupid heels. They protected the beam. So impressed. So impressed. It's just like turning down the temperature.
This is why they got rid of Dan Baker.
Yes.
Because you wouldn't have been able to do this high heels beam pose.
Right. They were like, dude,
be very specific in who you're putting on the leadership committee. If
that's
you need
right.
To do this, if you need to do this meme.
Club Gym Nerd. Get discounts and first dibs on live show tickets, and extra podcasts every week, athlete dossiers, code guides, commission your own segments of the show. It also makes a great gift. Check it out at gymcastic.com at the Join the Club tab.
Oh, speaking of which, we'll talk about this on Behind the Scenes on Friday, but I also got a peek at the new compulsory routines, and I am very happy about them. So
The compulsory routines for
the elites.
Oh, the elite compulsories, which the US, you have to do it once.
Yes.
And then you never have to do it again.
Yeah. And I'll tell you more about it.
Okay.
My other favorite part, we have a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about men's too. But Donnell Wittenberg making a world team at age 30 after almost dying on rings the day before. Or was that day? No, it was the first day he almost died on rings.
Second day.
Okay. He was going for his dismount on rings, and he got his grip. So when you dismount rings, you have to throw the rings away because you don't want to get stuck in them as you are flipping. And they have, it's a ring. So you could literally ring toss yourself like through a leg and get stuck hanging upside down violently from the rings. So I don't know if his Asher told me that he was having a trouble with his grip. So his grip got stuck, or he threw and then he couldn't get his hand out. So he's doing his dismount and his hand was stuck in the ring. So he wasn't flipping, and it was really scary because you get, something stops your momentum of flipping. Then we're worried you're going to land on your head. And then at the same time, his hand was stuck, but he was also grabbing his leg and his pants to pull to make sure he got his rotation. So it's like his arm is through the ring, his hand is on his pants, and he's trying to flip himself. But then he stopped his rotation and landed safely, thank God. It was very, very, very scary. And I was so happy that he was okay. And then he was killing it. I mean, he killed it the whole time here. And he does a triple back dismount off high bar and triple pike. And it's incredible. And I was so stoked for him, and also happy that at 30, you have incredible awareness about how to save yourself. And I'm just really happy that he made this and he made the team. And he's one of my favorites, not just for vault. So
not just vault. It's like I have a skill named after myself on rings.
Exactly. He's very good at rings. So I wanted to ask you about this because one of the things that was my favorite part about all the meets this weekend was the men's competition. Men's is so incredible to watch live. I always tell people to watch it live because watching it on TV does not do it justice until we have 4K immersive 1000. Like you can put your headset on and watch it. That is what I'm waiting for, which hopefully will happen soon. Hint. But it's incredible to watch live. So the thing was, it was really exciting because so many people were doing triple backs. And we have our floor national champion, Nelson, who has 2 triple backs in his routine. But I also kept thinking about Lorenzo of Italy, who's, in a coma. We don't know what his final condition is because of a triple back off rings that went wrong. And my question for you is, have the men's technical committee and the FIG incentivized more difficulty to the detriment of the human beings doing the sport? Is this too difficult? Is it worth it?
I think that they have the decision of an open-ended code, which is now 20 years old, went down this road. That was a commitment to incentivizing difficulty and saying you're going to get rewarded for that. So at a certain point, I think there's only so much the FIG can do in terms of athlete safety. And at a certain point, it has to be the decision of a coach, a decision of an athlete, whether I can do this safely. And you need both an athlete to say, I want to do this, and a coach to say, maybe it's not safe, if it's not safe sometimes. But I think, like we saw with, how we got mad when Simone's beam dismount was not given the value that we thought it should have been given. And the argument was, safety. That was sort of part of the argument that was given. And we were like, well, if Simone should not be penalized because someone else might try it not safely. Simone was doing it safely. So that's kind of also how I feel about difficulty in general and how it should be valued. You have to kind of, at a certain point, gymnastics is super dangerous and fluky things can happen. Like this was a fluke with Donnell on rings. That was didn't say anything about his consistency on rings. I think it was just like gymnastics is scary and hard and sometimes weird things happen. So I don't necessarily think it's the fault of the FIG. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is the problem is like you want to have really good, well-trained coaches who understand that you only take a risk if you know that can be done safely. Like I think about all the times that, Amy Borman, and she talks about it in her book, how, and we talked about it in interviews with her forever, how Simone could do a triple Yurchenko. She could do a Yurchenko double back for a long time, but Amy would not let her compete them because she's like, it's not worth it. It's too risky. And then, Simone made the decision herself later that she was going to compete them as an adult, when it was her decision as an adult, as a grown-up. The problem is, I think that the FIG faces is I literally heard the story recently, is there was a coach who visited a country that's developing their gymnastics program, and they were, they don't have real equipment, enough pits, they're doing the best they can. But this coach was like teaching something and said, oh yeah, this girl died on this last week, and then has the next kid go. Like, no respect for the life of the athlete or the health of the athlete. It's just like, yeah, you either try it or get out of here. And that's terrifying to say these people. But is that also the FIG's fault that there are totally irresponsible coaches in the world? Like, do you want to have a worldwide training program and everyone has to do it, and then you have to have enough money to afford it? You would hope that there's just people in charge who put the athlete's health first. Also, I want to give an update on Lorenzo, which is that he's out of a coma. Update this morning, he is talking and eating naturally. So that's super exciting. I also think that this is just to go back to this debate about whether or not it's too difficult. I had a hard time watching the triple backs this meet, even though they were really exciting because I kept thinking about what happened to Lorenzo the whole time. It was fresh in my mind. But it was super exciting to watch, and there weren't any triple backs that were scary. There weren't any that I thought you should not be doing this. Where watching, somebody
the only time was Donnell about to do one, and then a weird thing happened.
Yes,
that's when it gets.
That was the only one. There was a lot of gymnastics that I thought you should not be doing this. Your coaches stop this. You shouldn't, and it wasn't triple backs. Throughout the whole competition, women's and men's. You're not strong enough for this. You have the technique. You're too tired. All of that. Like, this is too much gymnastics for you right now. But I also feel like it's sexist because they're downgrading Simone's skill for safety.
Well, not downgrading. They just didn't give it the value that it could have been justified.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. They didn't downgrade Simone's double off beam. Right. They didn't give it the
It's
the
just
value
sometimes the language gets like, oh, they downgraded Simone's or they banned the
That's
skill.
true.
It's not really what happened.
Words matter, which we will get to later because we're going to talk about a gymnast that went to the White House later on. But yeah, that's a very important distinction. It wasn't given the value it should because it was like people will get hurt. But then it's like men, no one cares about them. Like, get all the difficulty you can, get all the bonus you can. So I am torn, and basically it comes down to people being irresponsible.
Yeah, I'm
Coaches
torn
being
as well. And so I think there's a responsibility in both directions. Like, the FIG made the decision to say, like, Igor Radavilov, don't vault that.
Right.
So they were willing to do that in that
A triple
case.
front.
So maybe they have a responsibility in extreme cases. But I agree. I am also torn.
Yeah. I had a talk with Tim Daggett after the meet, and it was really interesting talking to him because he was super stoked about the transition rules, how men now have to you have to be name off or do what Tim Daggett did in your floor routines, or bringing that back. You can't just tumble back and forth. You have to have some kind of dance element. And he also was like, I love the triple backs. It's super exciting. Like, this
on the broadcast, he was like, every time someone did it, he was like, yes.
Yeah, he's super stoked about it. He was like, this is so exciting. This is what the sport needs. And it was so exciting to watch. Men's is already so exciting in person, especially, and it was super exciting. So yeah. Let's talk about the men's competition a little bit.
I think we already have been, but let's talk about it more. So results all around: Asher Hong, dominant performance to win the all around title. Frederick Richard, silver all around. Fuzzy Bennis, third all around. The world's team, which for the men was named directly after the national championships. So this was the selection competition. For the women, it's not the selection competition. So we talked about how, like, Jayla Hang is still in it. Claire Pease is still in it. Nothing's decided yet. But for the men, it is decided. Asher Hong, Cam Nelson, Patty Hoops, Brandon Dang, Donnell Wittenberg, Brody Malone are the 6 for the world's team, because this year the men get 6 and the women get 4. Jessica loves it.
It's totally fair. Obviously.
The reasoning being women have 4 events and they get 4 athletes. Men have 6 events and they get 6 athletes. But
so men can win more medals and therefore more money, and it's totally fair. Everything's fine.
And also the alternate, Taylor Burkhart, was named as the alternate. So the question was, I think the general question, especially for people who aren't like reading the selection procedures every single second, like me and Kensley and no one else, why did the silver and bronze medalists in the all-around not make the world's team? And so a lot of that is the format of the World Championship. So while the men have 6 members of their squads, it is an individual worlds, and still only 3 people are permitted to go on any individual apparatus, just like the women. So if you have, for instance, 2 medal contending pommel horse specialists who are getting some of the best scores we've seen so far in the world in Patty Hoops and Brandon Dang, there's only room for 1 more person to do pommel horse. Therefore, there's only room for 1 all-arounder on the team, and Asher Hong got that spot clearly with his national championship performance that was so much stronger in the all-around than anyone else. So my read of the situation is that the rest of the all-around standings did not matter at all and weren't really part of the decision, because it was, we have room for 1 all-arounder and then who can win individual medals. And so they were like, the rest of the all-around standings, it was the unforced decision. They unforced the team. Basically.
Yep.
There were also other rules for the U.S. men's selection for automatically locking your spot onto the team. If you won your event, won a particular apparatus, and with a D score greater than or equal to the highest D score from the 2025 European Championships or Asian Championships. Which also my first thing was like, well, so you couldn't do this in women's. First of all, intercept that, because where is Brazil in that? Where is Canada in that? Where is, for instance, Algeria in that? Because if you're basing your sense on what a competitive medal contending score is,
and you're leaving
at a world championship,
South America and Africa out, you're missing the most important gymnasts.
It would be a skewed interpretation of what is the strongest in the world. And I think you can make that argument here for the men. For instance, Russia wasn't eligible to compete at the European Championships, but they've got spots on the registration list for Worlds this year. So you've got a different field. But anyway, only Asher Hong ended up locking his spot automatically onto the Worlds team. He was going to be named to the Worlds team anyway, so that didn't really end up affecting, I think, anything about the decision making. The controversy for this team is Frederick Richard, Olympian, second in the all-around here, one of the favorites with Asher Hong to win had he hit the competition, one of the top U.S. men's gymnasts, not named to the world team, not named to the all-around. So, debate club. That's the sound of me introducing the debate club, just in case anyone didn't know. I need Jessica to hit a sound effect button, I guess. Like, oh, she got hit in the face.
She got hit in the face.
Thank you. That's
Welcome.
it. That's what a debate club is. Oh, she got hit in the face. Should Frederick Richard have been named to the Worlds team? Yes or no? Jessica, where do you stand on the debate club?
No.
Tell me
There's
why.
Because he is not. This is an individual Worlds. The team doesn't matter. There's no team competition. So you either have to be the best on an individual event in the country, or you need to be the best all-arounder. Asher killed it. His competition was glorious. He's the best all-rounder. And remember, they're using bonus points here. So I'm talking even without the bonus points. We have Hoops, who's #1 in the world on pommel horse, and Fact Checker took amazing pictures of this. Your visual listener, I want to show this, but they're all on the website in the photo galleries. But like this was so exciting. Netarashik was here, but he just he didn't do his best routine. Hoops goes to Air Force. He's in a military academy, and he still was able to do this. I don't know how people function who go to a military academy and are doing elite sports at the same time. This was a huge moment. All of the coaches from every team were freaking out because he got the highest pommel horse score in the world without the bonus. He still got the highest score in the world. This is gigantic. He should absolutely be on the team because they understand all the medals matter, not just the all-around medals. So when you can potentially have a world champion on multiple events, because even if Hoops doesn't do his best routine, you have Dang, who got a 14.9 without the bonus. That's also a huge, gigantic monster score. You have Brody, who got a 16.25, who's a former world champion.
Then that is a score.
That was
with
the bonus. That is with the bonus, but
your
still.
D score would have to be like, to get that real. Your D score would have to be like an 80 billion.
Yes. And Kensley and Neutral Productions put together a really great chart of who has the highest difficulty in the world. So Cam Nelson on floor, Donnell Wittenberg on rings, Asher on vault, and Brody Malone on high bar. And Brody Malone has done it in the past. He has been there. Also, Cam's floor routine is beautiful, flawless, gorgeous. It is if Russia could recruit him to be on their team to replace Nagorny, because Nagorny can never compete again because of his crimes, they would recruit him. That's how insanely good his floor routine is. So this is why I'm just like, it doesn't matter if you're second all around, that's not good enough. If you're second all around and you also have the highest D score or highest score in the world on one event, yes, but Fred doesn't. Even if they had, and Fred took a deduction because he wore his pajama basketball protest outfit. Even without that, that's what I'm calling it, because it looks just like basketball top and basketball shorts, but then tights. Even if he didn't wear that and take the deduction, he still wouldn't be high enough. So this was not a good meet for him. Like, he's a great gymnast, but this wasn't a great meet for him. So yeah, I don't think there's any question. It's kind of like how I feel about Gabby Douglas in 2016. Like, there's no question. Like, Gabby
Just the
Douglas
opposite, 'cause
should.
your
It's the
belief is that
opposite.
she should have been on
She
the team.
should
Yeah.
have. There's no Fred didn't get the scores and didn't do the gymnastics to earn his place.
I'm going to take yes in this debate club that he should have been named to the world's team because if in the men's selection procedures, automatically locking their spot, only Asher Hong locked their spot. Everything else, so everyone else went to the discretionary criteria. The first provision of which is ability to win a medal in an individual final. And then there are some clarifications, some more information to that. What I will say is Frederick Richards' day 2 high bar score without bonus would have placed first in the European Championship event final, 4th in the Asian Championship event final. So they just talked about how this is the standard we're using, European Championships, Asian Championships, to see if you have the sufficient routine. High bar would have been first. Asian Championships would have, or high bar would have first at Euros, 4th at Asian Championships. You compare it to Donnell Wittenberg, who also had 1 hit on his good event in this competition, 1 hit and 1 miss, just like Frederick Richard, 1 hit and 1 miss. Donnell Wittenberg's ring score on day 1, the hit without bonus, would have been also 4th at the Asian Championships, would have been last in the European Championships event final. Everyone in the event final at European Championships scored higher than Wittenberg's score on day 1 when he hit without the bonus. Wittenberg was the only selected event specialist whose score wouldn't have medaled in either the European Championship final or the Asian Championship final. I think he was selected for his D score because, as you mentioned, his D score ranks highest, tied for highest in the world on rings. Frederick Richards' D score on high bar, not close. 5.5, that was all on execution and stick bonus, is why his score was very good on high bar in day 2. So they picked for D score. No one gets medals for their D score. There's not a small medal for who has the highest D score. It's just your result. And Frederick Richard got that on 1 day, which you selected Donnell Wittenberg for 1 day of a routine. And I think using what they set out, Frederick Richard's high bar was more competitive in the comparison competitions than Donnell Wittenberg's rings was. So that's my argument for why I would have had Frederick Richard on the team anyway. Unless you talk to him and he said, no, I'm going to wear this at Worlds 2 and get the deduction, then I would be like, okay, then we're factoring the deduction into your scores and how we're evaluating them, which I think would be a fair thing to do for the selection committee to do. If he said, I'm going to wear this at Worlds and get the deduction, then you take 3/10 from his scores.
I wanted to talk about sort of in my low lights, Fred in his pajamas. And this is the thing. He did specifically say he would never, when we talked to him after, he would never wear this in an international competition. This is just his kind of protest against, he feels like the outfits are too tight around his groin. He said that specifically, which was very confusing because he did also wear zebra stripe tights underneath his shorts that were baggy for Pommel Horse. And I was like, why not just wear, why, like if you're uncomfortable wearing long things, why are you wearing tights? But he wore them under his baggy shorts. So Will Graves of the AP wrote a really good story about this, and there's a lot of coverage of this. CBS News covered this, and I think this is what's genius about this is like this is never going to change. It's a futile fight that he's fighting, and it's also weird because I think in the United States is only one of the only countries where there is an association with there's a negative association with fitted clothes for men. Where there is not in the rest of the world, and especially with gymnasts. And so I think this is a losing fight, but it's great for PR. It's like Simone was getting really bad PR for her fighting for the rights of trans people, and then she got a lot of hate for it. And so then she was like, literally just posted a picture of her new boobs. Boop! End of conversation on her Instagram. Totally changed the conversation. And Fred... he has a lot of ups and downs in his gymnastics, but people are still talking about him, even though he didn't make the world team, didn't have his best meet. He did great. He finished second. But I think, yeah, he did clarify a lot of things about his protest outfit. That's what I'm calling it, which is that, there was a lot, I asked him about it because it kind of looked like at first, especially from the photos that I saw at first of Donnell Wittenberg's rings accident, that his hand got stuck in his pants, but it was actually his hand was stuck in the grips and then he was pulling for his dismount.
Mhm.
But I kind of asked him about that, and he was like, if you go into any gym, this is what we're wearing. We're all not wearing shirts, and then we're wearing baggy shorts, which is true. But there's always also a danger in that. And like we were talking about this because in wrestling, a lot of people do wear baggy clothes, but when you're wrestling live, then you change because you will break your fingers if you get caught in the other person's baggy clothes. And the same thing can happen in gymnastics. There's, especially if your clothes slip. So I remember a lot of times if like gymnasts were working out and with a t-shirt on, which is fine, I didn't care. But if I had to spot them, I would have them take it off. Or if they had a bunch of like straps in the back of their leotard, then I would ask them to put the t-shirt on and like tuck it in so it was tighter, because my fingers could get stuck either way or I could slip. And then other people will say, well, I like a t-shirt because you grab the whole kid by the t-shirt and hold them, it's like a basket that you can hold them by if they slip out of your hand. But then people slip out of their whole shirt. So like, it is a danger to have loose clothing. It is, you're taking the risk and you're deciding what risk you want to take. But he also told us that the inside of the shirt and the pants, the shorts, have snaps on them, so they won't go up over his head when he's slipping. So they have, on either side, they snap into his pants. Kind of like, remember when Beth Tweddle was on the show and she was on that Ice Dancing with the Stars show, and she told us how they never get wedgies because their ice skating costumes have a bunch of hooks all around the hip, and they hook into the tights so they stay in place. I was like, this is genius. Although I can see that would be very painful if you were rolling on your hips on beam or bars and with
how are people going to do their
hooks.
back spins?
Oh my God, exactly. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. Anything else about Fred on the world team?
No, I feel like I debate clubbed.
Okay. And he's not
debate club. Gavel, gavel, gavel. The debate club is closed for this week. Now we can go get lunch.
Okay. Some highlights starting with the men's competition. Jackson Harrison. They competed at last year's championships, and I kind of was like, it's beautiful to watch them because they are tall and taller than me. I would say close to 6 feet, but their skills weren't there at the time. This year, they went to Evo, and there is so much camaraderie with the team on the floor, first of all, with everyone, and they just look beautiful. So much improvement, so much incredible improvement. I was actually talking to Tim Daggett about Jackson Harrison too, and we were both talking about how they have improved immensely. I also love that Jackson has stayed true to themselves. They came out and did like a twirl with their warm-up jacket in the intros. When they finished their floor routine, there was a salute and then a ballet style bow within, fourth position. And I just enjoyed, and also makeup. Remember when their coach in college made a rule that they couldn't wear makeup? And that was a team rule. Now I feel like Jackson being able to be totally themselves and getting really good coaching at Evo, it has improved so much. Placed on floor. This is huge. So super, super stoked for them. I talked to Charlie Larsen, who's gone from club gymnast and tumbling and trampoline world team member to All-American national champion, and now placing at elite national championships in 3 years, has it been? Extremely fast ascension. I talked to Charlie and Jackson about the new FIG rules and what they think about the transition rules. And because, Charlie has been saying how much he wants to do all of the dance on floor. I cannot play this interview for you in this episode because there's background music. And if there's any background music, the whole episode gets flagged for copyright. So I will put it on Instagram, and I will also put it in YouTube Shorts after we record this. But Spencer will now do a interpretation. Just kidding.
That's
He's not.
like I have to play characters.
No,
I
you
thought
don't.
I'm just
You
reading
don't.
the transcript.
You're
I'm
just
not gonna,
reading.
I'm not getting into character.
No.
I'm not going to Daniel Day-Lewis it. I'm just.
You're
reading
just going to read the
transcript.
transcript.
You asked Charlie, what do you think of the new transition rule? And Charlie said, "Okay, I like it a lot. It's hard to say now how much it's going to allow, but I do think it's a really great step in the right direction. And I almost actually did a wolf turn today. Like legit, I warmed it up. I literally warmed it up, and then we were like, we're not sure if this is actually going to go, but I won't do it. But we're hoping that they'll let in some of the more of those things. I've been talking to Heath, and he's like, I'm going to submit a switch half to see what they do. And even if they don't accept anything, it's a good change in the sense where you have to choreograph your routine now, and some people can make that more fun." And Jackson said, "I think it's a step in the right direction. Obviously, I'm hoping for more options just so that we can add more diversity into what we're doing and, throw some leaps and turns in there or even some other cool things taking from wherever, because I feel like if we're going to add more artistry, it's kind of redundant to limit what we're allowed to do." This is Charlie talking now. "I think it'd be great if they add in similarly, like the women's and artistry panel, that it would take a while to develop, but a whole separate scoring-based system on artistry, because right now I don't really know how they would judge it. I think that the limiting factor is that they have to judge it based on the code of points, and it's not a whole separate built-in artistry panel."
I really like that idea. And I like that they were also talking about having the compulsories, kind of how the women do and other countries do for your dance, and how that would be something that would be really helpful going into this new era. And someone actually asked this in the we put the press conferences up so you can watch them and listen to them on YouTube. And someone asked the men specifically, "Are you guys going to hire a choreographer for the transitions?" And the answer was sort of like, "Why are the FIG doing this? We'd like them to tell us why they're doing this and explain it more." And that was Fred, Brody, Nedarashik, and Asher. Yeah, were the ones in that press conference. So varying degrees of interest. Nedarashik was out there totally practicing all his turns and dance with Jackson and Charlie. And I did that. So that's part of the interview. Also, I asked them about him doing dance and should he do floor. And so that's something we'll put up for you guys to listen to, because yes, it was very entertaining.
Yeah, I think, and that's something that Charlie and Jackson spoke to as well. It's kind of the mixed messages. Like, you're sort of saying you want this, you can do a dance element, but also they never accept anything. So what do you what do you want us to do? I think is a common theme in sort of the men's reaction to these rules. Like, just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. But like, what do you want?
Yep. And also the scale. So the FIG is no longer requiring a scale, but USAG didn't change that rule now, because we're not going to make people change their rules here. We're in the middle of national championships, but that is no longer required, and the transitions rules will start later. So it gives people some time. It's interesting that the British Gymnastics have long had a choreographer for the men. Then they didn't for a little while, and now they have Danusha Francis working with them, and she actually put up a video of herself working. Oh my god, it's the cutest thing you've ever seen. She is working with the little junior boys on their dance, and it is like so adorable, you guys. So cute. I love it. It's on her Instagram. I just watched it today and I was like, this is what they want. Like, they are having so much fun. You can tell they like want to do their best and like impress her with their artistry, and it's beautifully done. Like, yeah, I love watching it.
My favorite thing is that the auto translation generator translates FIG as effigy, like EFFIGY, and it creates some very funny translations.
Okay, I want to talk about Nelson's floor.
Mm-hmm.
It is spectacular. I can't get enough of it. It is amazing. I first noticed him, like, I knew this floor routine is coming up and it's amazing, and and it's funny because Scott Brigman stopped and was like, Will Graves in the AP is there, and we always have to make sure he knows the gymnastics that's good. So Scott's like, watch this right now. The floor routine is amazing. And just like I made him stop and watch when Reese Esponda did her Brandy double back, which is so clean and pretty now, and Will Graves asked, is that allowed? Which was adorable. So Nelson's Florex. I watched him before he went to floor, and he's on the floor during the neuro exercises that I have seen from Yuka's Instagram from Neuro Level Up. And I was like, oh my God, I've seen gymnasts do this in like their practice videos at home, but I've never seen anyone do the neuro exercises on the floor. And then I saw his floor and I was like, oh my God, this is the best advertisement for doing every little thing you can to train your brain to do gymnastics more safely. And I bet when you do these exercises, gymnasts are going to trip over stuff less often too. That's the other thing.
Big promise.
The studies aren't out yet, but I'm saying that this could be a thing. He does a triple pike and a triple back tucked. Everything is so high, so dynamic, so clean. I mean, listen, nobody here is Carlos Yulo, okay? But extremely clean. For men's gymnastics, this was beautifully done. Beautifully done. I am so excited to watch World Championships where we have this routine on the floor and Japan and China and Carlos Yulo all together competing. It's going to be so exciting. This routine is sick. And he also looks so not nervous and so chill. This is a reason to go watch men's gymnastics in person. And we'll link to this routine because it's nuts. You should still be able to watch replays of this on their replays on Flip TV, USA Gymnastics platform, and then also on Peacock.
They put it on their YouTube.
Oh, good.
Afterward, the USAG will put the competitions on their YouTube page.
That's because Lily negotiated a new contract, so they're not completely screwed over by the NBC rights like Steve Penny stuck them with. So this is her outgoing gift to everyone, is how she renegotiated that contract. My other favorite thing, I don't know if you saw this at home, but Fred Turoff, remember he was on the show? He was the Temple men's head coach, and he told us all the crazy stories like about the guy streaking at the Pan Am Games, tumbling naked with pantyhose over his head. So he was there, and his dog got on the Simba cam because his dog was there in the arena and got on the Simba cam.
His dog was holding him up like Simba.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Okay, the squad showdown, which was Spencer's favorite thing in the whole world.
Yeah, wait, so we've moved on to the lowlights section, I assume?
This is at the end of highlights in case you wanted to say that it was a low light.
Why? Why squad showdown?
It was actually, I think this was a good idea, and this is cute. So basically they did like a team finals format scoring, but the teams were allowed to pick their names, their theme. They could have, so the team that won was the Beignets, and
given the name Team London.
Yeah, but then they actually let them change it correctly because that's stupid. You're in charge of this. Bond, make your own dances, and then give them names. No, but I think they were just afraid they were going to. With the men's teams, I would be more afraid they were going to do something, create some wildly inappropriate name. But beignets? Come on. Who doesn't want to be a fluffy donut covered with powdered sugar? So this actually did bond the teams. Like they did really like talk and make up things and come up with names together. Like it gave them a reason to interact more, especially if you were on a team that generally doesn't do a lot of interacting and you're very focused. There was more camaraderie on the floor. And I loved seeing this, and I think it was a great idea. And it's not the same as traveling together and bonding that way, but it's a reason to interact and have more time together. And that's one of the best parts about doing sports. Like your teammates and the people you meet doing sports, it's just one of the best things. So I love that they did this, and I hope they keep it up. And I'm sure it will expand, which they said they will expand it. So Spencer, something to look forward to.
Well, if they change, make it like something that actually has a reason to be there.
Like they get money?
I don't know. Something. It felt arbitrary and like, wait, why am I paying attention to this other result thing that doesn't mean anything?
I would like them to have like a some sort of stick crown-esque thing when people, but that actually means something. But something that, they get to pick. If they did
a stick crown, you would be like, oh, I'm so bored.
I would be annoyed. Crown. A stick crown-esque. Like they had it was really cool actually. They had the little the umbrella.
Shame bonnet if you fall. You have to put on your Handmaid's Tale bonnet if you fall on beam. Then you're getting me behind it. Then I could get behind it.
That's coming soon enough. No one needs to add it to the gymnastics competition. They did have the kids that were taking people around to different events. They had those little umbrellas with the feathers. But for the men, I don't know who these kids were. I think they were like the kids of Flip, the mascot, who was my favorite, playing with the dog at the end. I don't know if you saw it on TV. It was adorable. The cat and the dog.
The cat has kids now?
Yeah, I think they were someone's kids. Beak and the dog and Flip the cat were playing
The cat had a litter?
and it was adorable. Anyway, these kids are like
we were
tiny.
talking about whether the cat was, male or female. If the cat had a litter.
Male. The cat.
Well, but the cat had a litter.
Well, we don't know who the mother is, but I think that's whose kids
I forgot.
Anyway, so
God. Send your letters to gymcastic@gmail.com and then they will go away.
Anyway.
Tell me that men can have children. I was unaware of that until this moment, apparently.
They had these little 6-year-olds carrying the umbrellas and the men walking behind them. So all you could see is this little umbrella going puffing up and down, and you couldn't see the kids underneath them. Anyway, it was adorable. Okay. I want to talk about the lowlights now that we've covered litters of kittens. So, after the meet, I talked to Asher, and he extensively described a concussion. So, I want to play this video, and this is the part that I was pretty shocked about, and then not, because he's an elite athlete, and this is why we need to change the rules. So, here's what Asher said after day 2.
I got up and I was like, okay, I gotta lock in for 4 and finish the meet off strong. You can't let that person in. Right? So, as when you're on an NCAA team, you can't get all emotional about that. So I learned to hone that in and dial it in before, and that's what I did. I was glad to do it.
You came back with a great performance in the next weekend.
Yes.
You were feeling better by then?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my head was still hurting a little bit. I strained my neck, I feel like, during that fall, but thankfully it didn't bother me too much the rest of the day. I just wanted to be like, okay, just do what you do at practice. You fall on high bar before a floor set, and if you can do it at practice, you can do it at the competition. So, that's the kind of the takeaway.
Did you get a concussion evaluation after that routine?
Oh, thank God, because they would have probably put me out of the But I was just, my teammate actually was like, Asher, they're going to apply it. They're going to put me aside. And it ended up being okay.
So I'm glad Asher's okay, and he did a great job. And I don't want to take anything away from his incredible performance, but he had a very scary fall that was clearly should have been an immediate neck and concussion evaluation. And if the USAG has rules that are more progressive than the FIG that enable medical staff, the USAG medical staff, to give an athlete more time. They don't start the timer so they can actually be evaluated correctly. So they don't have to worry about getting up fast or getting back on the equipment quickly to be evaluated for concussion. He was not, according to him, evaluated for a concussion, even though this was pretty obvious from watching the fall. Let me give you the example of how you know this. This isn't just me just saying this, pulling it out of my ass. In the NFL, for example, there are ATC spotters, certified athletic trainers, who are required to watch the whole game. If they think that someone was hit in a way that gave them a neck or head injury, they call down to the field. The coaches or the ATCs on the fields have to go to that athlete and say, you're pulled for an evaluation. And the athlete can say, no, I'm fine. And they're like, nope, spotter called it. So they don't have a choice. They have to go into the tent and be evaluated. This is so important. And I know that not every single medical person on the floor can watch every routine and necessarily sees the mechanism of injury. But this was so obvious. But I would like there to be someone that is assigned to do these evaluations. Also, it's kind of disheartening that these people are on really big college teams, and I didn't see their trainers traveling with them. Stanford has a great athletic training program. Maybe I just couldn't see her. She was there. She wasn't on the floor. But it would be nice if these college teams could travel with their trainers. Some of them were here. They were doing treatments off-site. But this is a big problem in gymnastics. We've now had 2 meets in a row where someone had
or at least a suspected concussion.
Right. I mean, everything he is describing is
I'm saying,
yes, a suspected concussion.
The point is whether it's a concussion or you suspect a concussion or it's a possible concussion, the protocol should be the behavior should be the same in terms of the precautions you're taking.
Yeah. And this is the perfect example of why we need this, because Asher's an athlete and he's trained to, just like Chris Brooks said to Josc after she vaulted, after she stung her ankles, like warrior mode. Like they're trained to keep going. Asher and Josc are not going to say, I need to stop. I need to, I need to evaluate this. And, I did do all of my athletic training hours. I did years of this. So it was a long time ago, but this is one of the big things that we learned because it's so dangerous, because second impact syndrome, you can die if you get another concussion. But Asher went on to compete. And this is the thing. It's so dangerous. If that was the end of the competition, you just need to be evaluated and you have some days off and there's a protocol to go through. When you have another event, if you fall again, that is when you can have the immediate impact that you can die from. So, and any concussion you can die from if it's severe enough. So athletes are not going to protect themselves. That's why someone has to be there. So it is disappointing that the coaching staff didn't step in. There wasn't an ATC that stepped in. And I would like to see that change.
Is there a way to make sure that, because it's one thing you talk about athletes, obviously they're going to want to compete. The other thing is they don't want to jeopardize the opportunity to compete in a national championship, to win a national championship, especially for something that ends up being precautionary. So is there a logistical feasible way to say, we need to evaluate you for a concussion, and it doesn't necessarily mean we're pulling you from the national championship? Because I think if there is that opportunity, you're less likely to have the situation that Asher was talking about, where the teammate said, oh, don't act like you have a concussion. Don't tell anyone, don't show anyone. I'm paraphrasing, because then they might pull you from the meet. And that's, I think, the kind of situation in particular that you want to have rules so that that's not happening, because you want people to be safe and protect themselves. So I think you're more likely to be forthcoming about what you're feeling, what just happened on an event, how you landed, that no one necessarily had, if you don't feel like there necessarily will be, we have to pull you from the meet. Is there logistically a way to say, okay, we're going to do a real concussion test? And I know you will say the concussion protocols that a lot of sports will do is insufficient to really determine whether you have concussion. Is there a way to do it in a more sufficient way, and then the athlete can still continue?
So that's why I agree. There has to be a medical person that says, we're going to pull you, and you are guaranteed the opportunity to petition because we are pulling you. You're not taking yourself out.
What I'm saying is, you're still not going to want to do that because you're taking away your chance to win a national championship. And what I'm trying to get to is what Josc happened with her ankle, not a same situation, not a head injury, but with her ankle. And then she was coming out, got it taped, came out late, was trying to see whether she still had the opportunity to warm up. And I'm saying there should be a procedure in place where if you need to be evaluated for a concussion, you can warm up later. You can go out of order. You can join in different rotation group to get the events done that you still need to get done. If you had to be out for a concussion test and missed a rotation, that you can then still make up those events. We had to take you out for 15 minutes to do this test. Join another rotation group to get your high bar, but now you're clear. Join a different rotation group to get your high bar done. Finish your floor after the end of the last rotation. The meet takes 2 minutes longer or something for you to add a floor routine, so that there is more freedom to do that, so that athletes can both be evaluated and not jeopardize their competitions. And logistically, I don't know if it's possible, but that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Okay, I want to talk about some gymnastics things that we saw. Remember, we have 3 hours that we covered of many, many details of the competition that you guys can go back and listen to. But I want to talk about the beam mounts and routine composition and what you saw, because I had a lot of problems with breaking the plane on beam. I don't think there was enough breaking the plane.
Jessica really needs you to break some more plates. So what I spent all day yesterday doing was recomposing everyone's beam routines, because I should have been doing something productive, and then I just kept watching beam routines and recomposing everyone's to make them more efficient. But it's just general observations that I saw, especially with beam mounts, because I think that I have a lot of problems with a lot of things about the code. One of the more recent success stories has been the change in beam mounts from the days of it's too risky, literally everyone's just going to jump up and sit on the beam, to now the majority of athletes are doing at least beam mounts that they're counting for among their 8 elements for their difficulty. We see a lot of switch split mounts, a lot of round off back handspring mounts, a lot of round off layout step up mounts. There's still not that much variety, but we're seeing those, and I much prefer that to I'm just going to sit on the beam. So 67% of gymnasts at this competition, the senior women, counted the mount as one of their 8 skills. But I think the lesson in this is one of the things that has actually improved within the last 10 years in routine composition is that it's not a requirement. They never made a new requirement to say, they could have said, oh, you have to count your mount now for your 8 elements, for your difficulty. They didn't do that. They just revalued the mounts and upgraded some of them. So they said, switch split onto the beam, which a lot of the US gymnasts are doing, used to be a C. They upgraded that to D. Round off back handspring onto the beam used to be a C. They upgraded that to D. And I think what we see there is soft encouragement gets done what you want better than a strict rule, is kind of the conclusion I get from beam mounts in this. Because my general frustration with the women's code right now, and I think you see this sometimes in men's, I think you can also paste this onto the scale rule. Strict rules, requirements, specific things result in everyone solving that problem the same way and doing the exact same thing. But if you encourage those who are inclined to do something to do it through skill value, no one's saying you have to do it. We're just saying you get rewarded if you can do it. You're more likely to get actual variety. Because we still see, Hezly Rivera, she's doing sit, side, split, mount. It's not anything complicated. Josc, best beamer in the entire world, is jumping up onto the beam and then being like, now I will do difficulty. Now I'm going to do all the most difficult skills, but as my mount, I'm just going to jump, hit the springboard, jump up onto the beam. That is more rare, but that's also variety. You don't want everyone doing the same thing. So if it works for you that you're just going to, not take a risk, sit on the beam, fine. That's fine, because not everyone is doing that. Lots of people are doing more acrobatic or difficult things. So that's my main conclusion about one of the things I think has gone in a really good direction is beam mounts. And it's never a rule. They never changed a rule. It was just skill values. Because then you also have, you have people doing simple things. You have Manila Esposito doing a whole acrobatic series as her mount and all those kinds of things. So I like it. And I think it's a lesson that can be applied to other things in gymnastics and also all of life. But we don't need to go there. But soft encouragement rather than strict rules.
Life lessons. Spencer, are you feeling okay?
I would dare. I'm saying I wouldn't dare try to give someone a life lesson. The other thing with beam mounts, though, that I just think is interesting and I don't have a conclusion is that in not having a strict rule, we've seen regional trends emerge. Like the US loves a switch split mount. It was even more last year. It was like 40% of beam routines started with a switch split mount, which is too many routines for one thing. But it is interesting that the US loves a switch split mount. In the World Cup where Georgia May Fenton won beam, Koper, yeah. I want to say. Mm-hmm. Everyone, that was a largely European field and a couple Brazilians. Everyone was doing round off acro. It was round off back handspring, round off layout, step out mount. China, no thank you. Most people are doing like Josc. It's hop onto the beam. And it's so that freedom of not having a strict requirement allows different regional trends, whether it's the European gymnasts tend to do this, the US gymnasts, those things develop. And I think that's also good and interesting because there's more of an identity of your routine rather than just this is what you have to do to get the most value out of your routine. This is my conclusion.
I hope everyone was taking notes and paying attention.
This is my TED talk about beam composition and what the code should be like, and why if you say the men have to do a scale is less helpful than we're going to increase the value and actually reward some of these leaps. So if you are inclined to do them, there's a reason to do them, is a better solution than here's a rule.
Yes. I just want to go through some of the gymnasts and kind of talk about, because we've talked about, a lot of specifics from the competition. And of course, I've mentioned we have 3 hours of
yes. So if you want to deep dive into Hezley's national championship, I feel like we didn't talk about that a lot right now because we felt like we did that in, the previous couple episodes.
Yeah. But I do want to talk about some people that really impressed that we haven't talked about. Ashley Sullivan, it wasn't her best meet, like it wasn't her cleanest meet, but I think she's still definitely in the hunt, especially with her beam. She is definitely like, she's doing it, she's there, she's ready, she has difficulty. It could be like a little bit cleaner, but that's really the only thing with her, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Simone Rose, so dependable, has it. She did great. Jayla Hing had not a great first day. She had a really rough first day and she was not happy. And then she totally brought it on day 2. So I feel like if she shows up to selection camp, hits both days, and it's usually the first day you have to hit all around or whatever you're doing.
And then events.
And then you do. Yeah, they'll ask you to do 2 events the second day. So if you are rough on, beam and bars, then you're going to be asked to do that the second day. Also, Jayla Hang is one of the only women that I saw who actually noticed the drum. Yes, there was a drum on the floor. There's a marching band that started the meet that was excellent. I couldn't believe they were a high school band. I was like, holy shit, they were so good. So if you stick a vault, you're supposed to bang the drum, and Jayla Hang went over and banged the vault. There was also one of the men's gymnasts that I saw do it too. So at least, they were having a little fun with that. Gabrielle Hardy, she is one that I feel I'm keeping a close eye on. Really pretty gymnastics. I enjoy watching her. There's nothing like she's like all around, just like is doing pretty gymnastics, which I really like to see. Claire Pease, we really thought was going to be the one here, was going to break through, was amazing. And podium training, she looked incredible, especially her beam. I'm like, you could do this on beam. But I think the nerves just got to her and she just didn't bring it both days, especially on beam. But she's definitely
her beam the first day was very strong. But
second day.
And then it was like the other events got better on the second day, but then she fell on beam.
Yeah.
It was one of those meets.
Yeah.
What do you think? I will talk about this more heading into selection camp, I'm sure. But what do you think people who were close to the top, like Jayla Hang and Claire Pease, who then had weaker nationals, what do you think they need to do at a selection camp? Like, are they out of it? Or do you think there are avenues for them to get onto the world's team based on their performance at the actual selection competition?
It's a good question because I'm like, if they come out and totally hit, and if like both of them beat Hezley and have world level scores, so you can be in a world final, world podium level scores on 2 events, then this is the thing. I would hope that they would choose the team at the time. But I'm afraid they're going to be like, well, Hezley earned it. She's a national champion. But both of them could win trials all around.
And the all-around winner of the first day of trials automatically makes the world's team.
Yes.
So that's definitely an avenue for an all-arounder, because who knows what could happen in one day. And that's then also the cautionary tale of picking a team based on one day of competition. But
so it's possible either of them could win all around and then they get the spot. What did you think about the WCC gymnasts? So they have the new coaches. They're very focused on, the code. They're the ones that, teach this. around the world, the Artistry checklist. Damon's on the Artistry man for the dev program. He's the Artistry man.
I don't have a specific, like, here's how World Champions Center looked as gymnasts. There were some highlight routines. I thought Tiana Sumanasekara had some real highlight routines. I really enjoyed watching her floor. I thought her floor day 2 was very strong. She had a weird, twisting into the floor, maybe fall on day 1 on floor, but day 2 was very good. There's a lot I like about where Dulcie Kaler is going, and I think that she is one I think is thriving in the current WCC because I think her style has changed, her composition has kind of changed, and I think that's good. I think that they're not all the way, like the consistency wasn't all the way there. You wonder how they're going to be in terms of hitting every possible routine every time. Like, I don't have any of the WCC gymnasts making the world's team right now. They're close. They should be in the mix there, but I don't have anyone on the world's team right now. So then that's the down, because if you are the gym of Simone Biles, the sought after gym that people want to go to, you're expected to have contenders every single year for worlds. But I will say, in going through beam composition, I think though WCC beam composition are the most efficient routines. They're not always counting. There's some counting some B's, but there aren't superfluous skills. And I feel like some people have some superfluous skills. Like, I want to talk to Leanne Wong about how there are 10 elements of C or higher in her routine, and you can only count 8.
Yes.
I want to ask why Claire Pease is mounting with a candle that she's not counting. Because you could just sit on the beam and it would be the same value. So there are some things like that I haven't seen in the WCC routines, but, mixed bag. The answer is I don't really have a hot take on your question, so I'm going to just say some things that occurred to me. That's my
I am really worried about I would hope that at camp, everyone goes through their routines. I mean, they've talked about how they want to have these meetings, and I would hope that at camp they're like, listen, why are you doing these 2 extra skills? Is because sometimes you miss this, so you want to make sure you have a backup that counts so you don't miss your 8 skills just in case. Like, why? Tell us the reason, and then maybe it makes sense. But right now you are not. It would be better to have something you can add on the beam if you miss than than your mount being the thing that you have to rely on later.
And typically like in Leanne's routine, everything has a reason for being there. It could be connection bonus. It could be fulfilling an acro requirement, but it's like she's doing back handspring layout step out just to fulfill the acro series requirement. That's not getting any value. So you would hope, ideally, not knowing how training is going, what things are doing, have a solution where you are counting skills that are also your acro series so that you kill 2 birds with 1 stone rather than having to introduce more opportunities for deduction.
Yeah. I want to talk about one junior. We got a lot of questions about Jos's routine and if she can use oh yeah in her routine or hey yeah.
Oh, in the floor music, yeah.
Right. And basically, if you have any words, you have to submit your routine to the FIG, and if they clear it, it's fine. A lot of times they don't count stuff like oh yeah and hey and stuff like that, or Yoruba. They don't count as a language. I'll never get over that.
How
Justice for
had Yoruba in it.
Yoruba is a language. But so that's what I would assume, she has elite coaches that are Olympic champions with a lot of experience that they have already submitted her. You have to submit it for copyright. And you have to submit it if it has any words, and that they have already cleared it with the FIG. And if not, that I'm sure Annie is on it at USAG, and she would not let somebody show up at a Worlds with music that's going to not be allowed or be a deduction.
Because that's never happened.
That's never happened. Well, I mean, Annie can't control people's choreography mistakes that they haven't done the checklist, but I feel like
you can't control things that happened before you worked there.
Right. But I feel like under Annie, we have
as much as we would like
get an overtime deduction on floor. So I have faith in her. She's the vice president of women's gymnastics. Amaya Hughes-Banks, one of the juniors, loved her. She is and Moreau, who won from Texas Dreams, great. Love that Kim Zemeskel's daughter designed her Leo. Also, she was just like so strong, so ready to do everything. And Amaya Hughes-Banks just like the power, the execution, the performance level, loving her. Let's talk about a little bit of Gymternet news.
Okay.
So Lily did kind of an exit interview. She's the president of USA Gymnastics, and she has decided to step down in December. And she's been with USAG for 6 years now. And she did this interview with Will Graves, the AP, that is really excellent, kind of talking about how she just hasn't even had time to think about what she's learned because she has been go nonstop. This is one of the reasons that I feel like they should get rid of the requirement for the president of USAG to actually live in Indianapolis, because I feel like you're never there. Especially Lily's keeping her job on her position on the executive committee at FIG, but you travel constantly. And so I feel like, why are you requiring someone to live in Indianapolis when, they're never going to be there anyway? And then you can live in a place where you have more exposure to people that you're going to make deals with, that are going to be the sponsors, that are going to make the TV deals, all of that stuff.
And also you're artificially limiting your candidate pool if someone doesn't want to move to Indianapolis, who might otherwise be the
perfect
ideal candidate.
Right. So it is not worth keeping that.
I have a 7-year-old who's in school who I don't want to move, so I don't want to move to Indianapolis, is not a reason you shouldn't hire someone. That's like a normal life thing, and you should still be open to that person. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Especially when they're only in the office once a month. So they fly in for that. Yeah. It's a huge limiting factor. But it's really interesting. I was shocked that in the article, Lily said that they only had 7 weeks of money left when she got to cash flow at USA Gymnastics when she took the job.
Okay.
Yikes. Oh, that's very scary. I had 6 weeks, not 7 weeks. I'm sorry, 6 weeks. I was shocked by that. And I really think, there are always problems. There are always going to be problems in a huge organization, especially when only 3% of the people you work with are actually employees, and everybody else is, working in clubs and it's a member organization. But I just think she has really brought the organization so far, and she has upped the level of professionalism everywhere that was lacking for generations of presidents. Also, I want to give some congrats to Megan Keeley, who won the World Games. She's an incredible tumbler. She's a world champion in tumbling, and she won the World Games for Great Britain. Huge accomplishments, come back from Achilles tear, and I'm so stoked for her. She is such a great ambassador for the sport. She is a lovely human. She is like an athlete to the core, and is just, when you want an ambassador for tumbling, like, Megan Keeley is the one. She is a fantastic human being, and I'm so stoked for her. Also, Caden Brown won World Games again for the second time, which is nuts. And World Games is basically all the sports that aren't in the Olympics. This is their Olympics. So for acro and TNT, it's one thing to be a world champion, but to win the World Games is the next level. And I'm so stoked for them. And it's huge for the US that Caden Brown has won this twice in a row.
It's also the kind of thing where, I saw the highlight clip that was going around of Caden Brown winning. And it's like, I think I'm not alone in the reaction being like, that should be in the Olympics.
Yes.
People would like that. People would like watching this in the Olympics. And I feel like NBC would also like having that in the Olympics, to be like, here's a highlight that's very shareable on social media and all the dumb things that everyone has to care about now and all of that. It's like I think, NBC should use what sway they have to make a little nudge toward, like, this should be in the Olympics.
In my personal opinion, it's more exciting than trampoline.
In my personal opinion, if you need to bump Rhythmic, you can.
Honestly, because
send your emails to Jessica.
Rhythmic is an amazing sport, but Rhythmic, I would put it in the category of boxing, or reasons perhaps it should not be in the Olympic Games. Just my personal opinion.
Which one has more punching, though?
Rhythmic. Right. 100% rhythmic gymnastics.
Put that category of inappropriate jokes that we should probably cut.
All you have to do is watch the documentary
Yeah.
on the Russian Olympic champion called Over the Limit, and you will see why we were saying this. I also want to talk about while we were at championships, photos came out of Nastia Liukin, Olympic champion from Beijing, at the White House. And a lot of people were saying she has joined Trump's task force. So to clarify some things, Nastia works for LA28. So she works for the Olympic committee that is putting together the Olympics for 28. She lives in LA. This is what she does. And she didn't post about the White House order, the executive order that she was there for the signing of Trump's executive order, but she did post about her outfits. She did not join the task force. I am clarifying this. I'm not defending anyone's activities, but anyone can go to, for now, you can go to the White House website and all of the executive orders are listed there. This executive order lists exactly who is on the task force, and essentially Trump made a task force and named himself the head of it, and it is a task force that is about security for the Olympics, and it's like, you know, every head of the departments of Homeland Security, et cetera, are part of the task force. Nastia was there along with the head of LA28, which is Casey Wasserman, for the signing. Nancy Armour has a great article, Nancy Armour for the USA Today, about the task force. And, you know, if it was me and I was asked to do that, I would either find a way to give Trump a toddler clap, the way that Nancy Pelosi did, where you know, it's like a gator chomp, but just with your hands, or show my displeasure in some way. I am also a citizen who was born in the U.S. Nastia is a citizen who was not born in the U.S., so I can see that maybe she would feel differently in this climate of people being deported right and left. But Casey Wasserman was also there, and Casey Wasserman is a huge Democratic donor. He is the head of the Wasserman Agency, which is Jordan Weber, for example, was signed to Wasserman. Like, he's a sports agent and an agent for, you know, lots of Hollywood folks. He was a huge part of the Clinton campaign. So I think that there's a lot of ways to look at this. And yes, I would not participate in this in any way. But the other way to look at it is like the way that Nancy Armour described this was just so good, which is like, the president decided to put himself in charge of something that a bunch of other people are in charge of. And this is basically a joke, but we just have to put up with him and humor him in order to have the Olympics go the way we are planned for and what we are working on, which is a Olympics that is supposed to be for peace and to uphold the Olympic Charter. And another thing about Casey Wasserman is he is one of the people who, as part of his role in LA28, is he wrote a letter to the IOC and said, I don't agree that athletes shouldn't be able to show their support when it comes to anti-racism and the Black Lives Matter movement. Everyone should be against racism. That is not a political protest. That is a value that the Olympics share. So why shouldn't the athletes be able to do this? I disagree strongly with your take on this. So that's where he stands, and he went there and, you know, clapped along for Trump. So I just wanted to clarify. And again, I'm not defending anything. I can tell you what I would have done. But she is not on the task force. Anyone can look up the executive order and look up who is on the task force. Spencer, have we covered? Oh, we haven't covered we want to cover this too. Who is the best gymnast in the world 2025?
Oh, that is a much bigger conversation. We will do that another time. I do want to talk about that now that we've had U.S. nationals, but we'll talk about that another time.
Okay.
But what's just want to look ahead to what's next. So
Yeah.
Junior Pan Am Games are coming up August 19th to 22nd. So the U.S. team for the juniors is Lavi Crane, Charlie Bullock, Kylie Smith, and Addie Van Grinzen, which is going to be a fun pronunciation for us to get used to over Grinsven. It's like a tongue twister. My name is a tongue twister. I love it. They're on the team for the US. That's August 19th to 22nd. So that's coming up next. September 13th to 14th is the Paris World Cup. That usually has a very good field. They haven't announced it yet. I think today, as we record this, is the entry deadline, but it usually has a very good field heading into Worlds. Szombathely World Cup in Hungary is September 26th to 28th. And then September 29th is when the U.S. women's selection camp starts. So that is kind of the agenda. If you need an agenda pre-World Championships, that is your competition agenda as we look ahead.
And the 22nd is when petitions are due. So
for the U.S. women's selection camp, yeah.
So if any of the, if Jade, anyone that's on the 2023 World Team or the Paris Olympic team wants to compete there, that is the day they have left to petition, which I don't see that happening, but just in case.
Simone's not going to compete?
Simone is very established that she's on vacation for the rest of her life, but she did have an article with the Olympic Channel with Scott Bragan that said, she will decide when she's done. No one else will decide. Thank you very much. So she also has now adorable coyote vests for her dogs, and they look hilarious. Like they're little punk rockers running around Illinois. And she was walking with a 15-pound vest on, and she looks super ripped. So, but she's deciding. Listen, Spencer, don't try to.
I don't get to decide.
No.
She's like, no, because I would compete at every Olympics till the end of time. And I'm like, yes, you would, if it were my call.
We will see you for behind the scenes on Friday. And don't forget that you can buy the replay tickets for the Morgan Hurd show, which is so fun and so funny. And I love that we got stories out of her that Slava didn't know. He was like, I didn't know about this. He also did not care, as she said. But I decided we should have next week off because we did 2 live shows in like 3 weeks and we are exhausted and need to catch up. So we will have a wonderful best of GymCastic episode for your next week. But you have this episode, which is extra long. You have 3+ hours of coverage of the championships from this weekend. So there's lots and lots and lots of GymCastic to keep you company until we come back, and then we will.
So are we behind the scenes this week? Is that what you're?
I think we should do behind the scenes this week because I have lots of stories.
That is. I want to know. I love that when we record is how I find out my schedule. So it's great.
I don't know why I didn't have us planned for a week off next week. I was like, what am I thinking? Like we usually take a week off after we travel, and this was but if you can do behind the scenes, I can do it because I have all my stories.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So if you guys have questions for us, all your questions from championships, send them in gymcastic@gmail.com so we can answer them live. Or if you can't make it live, you can always add behind the scenes to your favorite podcast player. And you want to do that now because coming up for Worlds, we're going to have our daily podcasts. So that is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to get your replay tickets at gymcastic.com. And check out all the photo galleries. And until Friday at noon Pacific, 7 GMT, remember to take off on gay, split on rights. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you for behind the scenes on Friday.